This is the KBK World Service.
What damage is the president doing here? Because the fact is, as you note, some people still buy it, right? So you're going to have a portion of the country who believes, without basis, that the election was stolen.
Yeah, I think the long term, it's more of a long-term damage. I think in the short term, look, there's going to be a transition of power. It'll probably be not pretty in the meantime, as we've been seeing. I do worry about the potential for violence on January 6th, but I think the long-term or even medium-term damage here is if you believe that your vote doesn't count and you believe that the system's rigged, and in some cases you believe that it's, Satan running the U.S. government, ultimately you are going to lash out not just on Twitter, but there are going to be people that lash out violently. And you have, these folks now that you see them on Twitter, so again, not real life, but that are seeming to pine for the idea of a civil war. Jim, you've been to war-torn areas. I have too. I think people that say anything like that have no clue what war is. And the very heart medicine they rely on to stay alive will go missing if this country falls apart to civil war.
For some more perspective, I want to bring in General Wesley Clark. He is a former Supreme Allied Commander of Europe and NATO commander. General Clark, thanks for coming on. I was actually happened to be reporting on Wednesday when this was happening, and we were watching it unfold. And as you're watching it, you're thinking, what are we seeing in real time, right? What is this? As you were watching it, the siege of the U.S. Capitol, what did it look like to you? A well-organized plot to really overthrow the government, or just a mob gone wild?
Well, it looks like both, and can't tell just from looking at the television pictures. You have to understand something that went on behind the scenes. So if you look at these pictures and ask, okay, what was the intent of bringing these people into Washington on the 6th of January? What was supposed to happen? Why would the president address them? What did he want to happen? It's a man who previously hadn't conceded to a peaceful transfer of power. Maybe he brought them there to establish so much chaos that he had to declare martial law. Maybe he thought he could bring them there as a show of force and intimidate the people who were confirming the Electoral College vote, and then he would be able to say, look, the Constitution's failed. Let's go take this to the Supreme Court. America has to have a president. And so obviously we need a new election. We don't know, Pamela, really what was inside on this. But if you look at the record of our president over the last 4 years, he's a strategist. He's pretty clever about things. He has a method to his madness. And so when he wants to do something, he works and moves the levers and organizes things. If you look at what led up to the impeachment in 2019, it was a series over many months of orchestrated work with various parties in Ukraine that came to a head when he could then bring the aid up to the president of Ukraine and threaten him that he had to start the investigation of Joe Biden. That wasn't a spur-of-the-moment conversation. That was something that was thought through. Now, it did not result in a conviction for impeachment for a lot of reasons. But the point here is not how we label this. I think insurrection is a fine label for it. It's what was behind it. So we're now beginning to arrest these people who were in the Capitol. And we're asking them, why did they do this? Well, I hope that we'll get to the Facebook pages and the laptops of people who were in positions of authority. Why was the Maryland National Guard held back for over an hour? Why did the president just tell everybody, tweet, stop, 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 this is way out of control, don't do this? He could have done that, but he and Rudy Giuliani were apparently calling senators or congressmen, leaving messages saying, please don't confirm these election results. So
right. And the vice president was the one who was there in the Capitol building while it was under siege, calling the Department of Defense saying, please get the National Guard here as quickly as you can. I mean, we're basically under attack here. That is what our reporting indicates. But as you see this video, tell our viewers how you saw the U.S. Capitol Police and how they appear to be rather easily overpowered from a command and control standpoint. Could the police and the National Guard response have been better? I'm assuming you're going to say yes.
Yeah, I'm going to say yes. Well, there weren't enough Capitol Hill police, and they weren't prepared. Some, you know, their first instinct was not to have an armed confrontation. So some actually appeared to cooperate with these people. Said, oh, I'm going to be overwhelmed here. Look, I'll be peaceful. And many of these people that were up there probably had no idea that there was anything behind this. They just sort of swept up in the emotions of the moment. That's what normally happens. But if you look at other incidents like this around the world over a period of time, there's a familiar pattern to them. There are organized demonstrations, there's chaos, but there's usually something inside it, some plot within that will lead to some desired outcome. It's usually not just random violence. And I hope as we go through this that we will investigate this thoroughly enough to see what was behind it. Who decided not to prepare the Capitol Hill police? Who decided to keep the guard out, and why? And why? What was actually going on inside the White House at the time?
And just very quickly, if you would, General, what needs to be done to make sure this doesn't happen again?
I think President Trump needs to leave office immediately. I think he should be impeached if he isn't. But I think it's not enough. We need to really investigate and find out what's behind this. And look, Pamela, there are millions of people in this country who believe this was a fraudulent election. So one of the first tasks that I believe President-elect Biden has got to undertake is to bring this country together by emphasizing truth and reporting and going back and looking at some of the aspects of the last 6 months which have led people to these false conclusions. We've got to bring our democracy back together.
All right, General Wesley Clark, thank you for coming on and sharing your time and your perspective with us. We really appreciate it.
Right.